Welcome back. Today I'm going to be going over this SAT volume question, but once again, thanks to Anico.ai for providing this specific question in their free resources tab. But before I dive in, please give this a try yourself. Okay, so here we have a right circular cylinder that has a volume of 100 pi and a total surface area of 90 pi. If the height is less than its diameter, which choice is the height of the cylinder? So right away, right? Let's first, for these volume questions, focus on what's given, right? Here we have that the volume of the cylinder is 100 pi, right? And we know that the surface area is 90 pi, right? And this is a surface area that includes both circular bases. So now we know that if the height of the cylinder is less than its diameter, right? So we probably have to look for that condition, and then we have to find the height. So of course, if we're dealing with volume and surface area here, right, then it's probably a good sign, especially because those values are given, that we have to use a formula, right? So what is the volume of a cylinder? Well, the volume is going to be pi r squared, right, which is the base times the height. And then the surface area, right, again for a cylinder, well, it says it includes both circular bases, right? So if the area of one base is pi r squared, then the area of two bases is 2 pi r squared, right? And of course, we also have to add 2 pi r h. You might be wondering, where is this coming from? Well, if you draw a cylinder for a second, right? And of course, you don't have to know where that comes from, but I think it's nice to know because it's easier to memorize if you know where it's derived from, right? So let's say you have a cylinder, right? Well, this is base 1, right? That's the circle. We know that the surface area here is pi r squared. We know that the surface area of this is pi r squared, right? So that's why you get 2 pi r squared. Where does the 2 pi r h come from? Well, if you think about it, right? First of all, this is the height of the cylinder. We know that the circumference of a circle, right? So I'm going to use this one for example. If you make a cross section, the circumference of any circle is 2 pi r, right? And if you think of it, right, there's infinitely many, or there's an h amount of circles, right, across this entire cylinder, right? Because there's one here, right? There's one here. So that's where the 2 pi r times h comes from, right? Because there's an h amount of 2 pi r's, if that makes sense. But that's just a breakdown of where the formula comes from. So now what do? Well, we know that the volume is 100 pi. So we have 100 pi equals pi r squared h. Well, you can cross the pi's out, so you get 100 equals r squared times h. And then you know that the surface area is 90 pi. So you have 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h equals 90 pi. On the left side, you can factor out a 2 pi r. Of course, these pi's cancel out. Then you have 2r times r plus h equals 90. Well, now what? We have two equations here, right? And we're trying to find the height of the cylinder, right, if the height is less than the diameter. Well, let's get everything in terms of one variable. So here, let's if we solve for h, right? That would give you 100 divided by r squared equals h, right? And then we can plug in the h into this, right? So that we get 2r times r plus 100 over r squared equals 90. Of course, you don't have to simplify, but like this right side here, that becomes 2r squared plus 200 over r equals 90. So now we have everything in terms of r, right? So let's solve for r. And I'm going to use Desmos here. And instead of r, I'm going to use x because it doesn't register uh, a variable that's not x, right? So if you do this, right, if you type this into Desmos, you'll see there's three solutions, right? You really don't care about the negative one, right? Because your radius can't be negative. So we're left with these two, right? One of them you can see is r equals 5, right? And then the other one, if you come and zoom in, right, you'll see it's around 2.6, right? So I'm just gonna write around 2.6. Well, okay, r equals 5, right? Let's go with that one first. If r equals 5, then what is the corresponding height? Well, we have the height equation, right? It's 100 over r squared. So 100 over 5 squared, that's 100 over 25, so h is 4. And then, of course, if you use 2.6, well, 100 over 2.6 squared, right? That gives you a height of around 14.8, right? Now, for the diameter, well, the diameter is 2 times the radius. So then we know that here the radius, which is 5 times 2, the diameter would be 10, and here it would be around 5.2, right? Because 2.6 times 2 is 5.2. So now we have the height and diameter of one pair, and then we have the height and diameter of the other pair. We're looking specifically for when the height is less than the diameter, right? Well, if you look at these two options, right, the height is only less than the diameter in the first one, right? Not in this one. So you can cross this one out, focus on this. And of course, the height is 4. They're asking for the height, so our answer choice is A. So, what is the main takeaway? For this problem, all you have to do is just set the values equal to, the formulas, right? And then once you get everything in terms of one variable, in this case I chose r, right? You can go ahead and find the radius, right? And then after that, you can solve for the height using one of the equations earlier. And just circle back to what the question is asking, and that should give you a right answer, right? Because you already have all the information you need. So I hope this made sense. If it didn't, please leave any questions you have down in the comments. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.